There we go.
Okay.
All right. Sorry.
You
Yeah.
got it all right. Okay. With that.
Okay, so this will be the plan and outline for our presentation, just briefly, and then we can just jump right into our app overview. So our current problem that people are facing in our society is basically the limited access with the current support model, which can be seen right here on the top right-hand corner. Basically, the nonprofit sector is a difficult environment to navigate due to the decentralized support model. And therefore, our solution will be the affordable model. The affordable model will improve resource distribution, and basically we will use a more centralized model, which can also be seen right here on the right-hand side on the bottom corner. And the affordable, what basically will do, it will promote health utilizing grants, or HUGs for short. And the reason for that will be to increase financial assistance for those in need. So this will be our architecture for the affordable web application. And of course, right here on the left-hand side, we have the user. And we also have the front end and back end of the architecture. For the front end, we have React, which is basically an open source front end JavaScript library, and is just used for building user interfaces. For the back end, we do have Express.js, which is back-end application framework used with Node.js, and is also designed for building web applications and APIs. Also in the back end, the application will use JWT, which will be used for authorization and securely transmitting information. So the team made a number of design choices throughout this semester, and I will go over here, right here of the HUG workflow. Basically, right here on the left-hand side, we do have the recipient. So what the recipient will be able to do is they will be able to view the available HUGs that are available to them. So for them to apply, they'll be able to view the already applied HUGs. And what they will be able to see from those HUGs is the HUG title, the HUG description, and the amount and service given, and the type for that amount, for that service given, because HUGs can be monetary or service HUGs grants, basically. And then on the right-hand side right here, we do have the donor. So what the donor will be able to do is the donor will be able to create their own HUGs. They will be able to view their own HUGs that they've created in the past. They will also be able to view HUGs that are created by other donors if they do wish to donate in the future. One of the design choices that the team made was to create a multi-step form for those. And then basically it will check if the requested and required fields have been filled out. So that way, whenever the user is filling out the application, it won't let them know at the end if they forgot an empty field. That way it just lets them know as they go. So that way they can fill it up pretty soon in the application. And in the next slide right here, we will see the ER diagram. Basically, the ER diagram shown right here only depicts the tables and attributes that were added from the team by this semester, and the team has worked on this semester. And this will be all connected to the rest of the database that can be seen on the left-hand side right here.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over the added features. We added a lot of small features, but we had 2 big workflows. And a lot of the small features were just quality of life things, such as user feedbacks. And by the end of it, we had a total of 7,910 lines of non-boilerplate code added and 2,056 lines of code that has been removed. And I just got those from adding up all the commit histories. So just to go over the changes, we have the home pages changes. We have a safe URL just to make sure that the user knows that they're securely on the right website, and also the home button, because during testing this actually was a pain ever since we would have to edit the URL to go back to the home page. So we just did it right there and made a button. We also did user feedback alerts because before we picked up the project, there was a lot of workflows where like you filled out a form and you didn't know whether or not it's submitted or not. So we added SOA alerts for our workflows. We also had added additional emails being sent after certain tasks, such as creating a bank account, deleting a bank account, and creating a HUG. And for one of the big workflows is the add verify bank workflow, and these are just the modals, and they all have form verification, so you can't just put a string of characters here. And for the HUG Center, this is the donor view of things. because we took the time to separate the two views ever since it got lost in a previous, I guess, iteration of the project. So from the donor view, you can see that if they don't own the hug, that they can donate to it. While if they do own the hug, they can edit, view applicants and delete. Also create hugs. And from the recipient view, what's been added is the profile view, which we reused from a previous semester that was removed, but we added back in. Then view applied hug modal that was shown in the demo, and withdraw and apply. And we just kept it simple for the recipient view so they don't become overwhelmed. So I'll go into the live demo. So this is just going to be on our local machine, and this is going to be the bank portion of it. And ever since it takes a couple of days for that, we're just going to use a test bank. So we are going to register a donor. And these are the buttons I'm talking about that we added back in. And as of right now, if you try to add a bank account, we also made it so that you can't add a bank account until your email is verified first. And this is the alert for that. And I should have gotten the email. I just spelled my phone ring. So here we go. Click here. And also on that end, right as you register, it creates a customer on the Stripe dashboard on the right. So, yep, Vann knock. Then click here, then log back in. All right, the email has now been verified for this account. So from there, right, this doesn't have an attached to bank account yet. So we need to add a bank. And these are just test Stripe, the Stripe credentials that test Stripe provides. So there's that, add this, then we can refresh. Now this should add it, and I should have gotten an email like that. So with that, now this needs verified, and we can do that through the web application. So verified, and the test amounts is 32 and 45. Otherwise, it would be 2 microtransactions to the bank account that you register, and on this end, it should work. Yep, right there. And so, and just to clarify, for donors, it gets created as a customer because we are only charging the account, because the way of transferring money works in the affordable, I guess, plan is to basically when a donor donates to a hug, that money doesn't go directly to the creator of that hug. It actually goes to the main affordable bank account, which you would be able to see on this, etc. This is just test money, but on that, then affordable decides how to divvy that up and does a thing called a payout, which you can only do with a connected account, which this would be a recipient. And I have some right here. And basically, this is just the same workflow. If you go from the recipient side, it's just the same. It's just that you have to fill out the profile page beforehand to provide additional information. If it loads, that it requires you. So that would be handled in the profile page. And that's basically, and when you add it, it automatically becomes verified. You don't need to do the 2 micro deposits. And that's the difference between the two. And now I'm going to go into the second workflow, which is the Hug Center. And from there, I'm going to go here. Actually, I'm going to go to the EC2 instance that we made and set up. So demo 2. So I'll show the recipient side of things first. So this is the Hug Center that we basically created. And as you can see, you can withdraw from the application and it refreshes the page. And now this becomes, you can apply if you want. And also the view applied hugs. This is just gives information about the hugs and also the decision of the donor on whether you've been accepted or not. And also, ever since this has already been filled out for this profile page, we made it so that you won't be able to apply unless you fill out this profile page. But this has already been filled out. While for the donor view, there's a little bit more actions with it. So this is, as you can see, like I said, view applicants, edit and delete and donate. But I'm gonna go through the create hug first. And this is the multi-step wizard that we're talking about. And this all has a form verification. And this was implemented with Redux So because ever since we're going to another modal, we need to save the state. And as you can see, that was the wrong amount. And also has to be greater than 20 for the minimum. And if you hit the age, next, it's a dynamic form. If you hit income, next, then for this case, we'll just do any. And this is the review page, success, and it's right here. So now I'm going to show, I guess, one of the ones where it has applicants. And this is where the donor will approve and unapprove, or I guess, deny an applicant. So you can hit this. This was already denied, and you can change your decisions. And this dropdown is solely for filtering. So approved, but denied. There's no applicants that are denied. And it's default to all applicants. Well, the edit, and this is the JWT bug that was assigned to Michael. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get that done. So now I need to log back in. Then the edit modal is, as you can see, we can say hello. And this is basically just the same as the multi-step form, but all in one page. So 0 to 50,000 or 5,000. Then this should update. Yep. And then also, and just a comparison, just a quick comparison. This is the old one, and as you can see, it's very verbose, and I think we did a good job slimming it. And form verification was at the end, so it's very, I guess if you miss something, it's kind of a pain to go back. So that concludes the demo for that, and I will pass it on to Reis for his portion on the COVID application. Let me put it back to present.
Yeah, so that was the majority of our workflow, but we also fixed up the COVID-19 aid application. Like the slide says, we inherited the actual screens and kind of backend methods, but just through iterations and legacy code or whatever, kind of connecting from point A to point B wasn't working. So the first thing we had to do is configure the S3 bucket for our images, which our sponsors helped a lot with that. And then also just like we made changes to the database. And so we had to update the old code in order to reflect those changes. And then our Stripe API was outdated. So we updated that, but then the code that was already implemented used the outdated API. So those types of fixes we had to go in and fix in order to get it to fully work. So on the next slide, yeah, and this one is for if you fill out the application, you can, yeah, I'll talk over the video. So yeah, like I said, the video or the application is already done. So there's form verification and whatnot, but I didn't bother showing it since we didn't implement that. What I really just wanted to show was what happens when you hit submit. So you attach a picture. So when you hit send, it goes to the AWS cloud. There was originally an error here, but now it's in S3 and it's in the database as well, which we'll see here, because someone's going to apply. And then from the admin point of view, you can accept or reject. So there's the request we just made. And again, like I said, all these forms, all these views were already there. It's just that when you hit grant originally, there was an error, but now it will actually go through and do something. And so that accepted the application. So they'll get an email, which you can see here. And then nothing happens yet on Stripe. But then you can see if you log back in as the recipient, there's now a balance of 49 cents. It wasn't 50 cents, even though we awarded that because there's a transaction fee that we keep on the affordable end. And then though the user can withdraw and type in how much they want. Again, all that was already there. I just fixed this part to where there's no errors being thrown now. And if you actually go to Stripe, you'll see that the lifetime volume will go up to 30 because the withdraw sends it to the bank, essentially, the money. And so it's not in the Stripe account anymore. It's already in the bank, which you can see there. That should be it for basically accepting and then withdrawing your reward. And then this is the same thing, but I've already filled out the application in the first half of the video. I just don't want to re-show it. This one's just going to be rejecting it. And nothing really happens with rejecting except you get an email saying, thanks for applying and you should apply again.
So just to go over the milestones, and after showing the demo, basically you hit all your milestones except for the fixed JWT issue, and that's because Michael was assigned to that, and he just kind of went missing. And also, we didn't get to allow donors to donate to Hugs. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of nuance behind that, meaning like, let's, for example, if somebody sends money but it doesn't actually go through, we would have to handle that. And we just thought it would be better for the next group to start from scratch instead of like, I guess, doing a very hacky implementation. So, and as for handoff tasks, the ones in bold are, I guess, tasks that I thought were good for like new, like features. So implement organizations, user dashboards, handling transferring money and views associated with that. And also the fixed JWT, because it's a very huge issue when you're testing, because it always pops up. And some other things is just like filtering hug list and like emailing recipients when the hug application decision is updated, and like make a default bank a feature.
Then yeah, I want to talk about some challenges that we faced hitting those milestones. Like Vann just said, there's really three main ones I want to focus on here. So the first one is just kind of the learning curve that we all had to deal with when we came in. The React Express MySQL stack is something that we all have varying level of knowledge with. And while we all might have at least one knowledge in something, namely MySQL, we've never really used all three of them in combination. And on top of that, we're also using some third-party libraries. We've shown a lot of Stripe, and that was probably the hardest thing to integrate. I don't think any of us had any experience with Stripe, and the docs are pretty verbose. That's not a terrible thing, but it can sometimes be a little bit confusing where to go to implement stuff. And AWS also, that was a beast of its own, but our sponsors helped a lot with that. But then for me, I think the biggest thing we all had to learn was kind of how to deal with these patterns you're using, because regardless of whether you're using React or Express or Angular or Spring Boot or whatever, this whole pattern of the router service data access on the back end can be confusing to you if you've never seen it. And so you have no idea how to add a new endpoint to use on the front end. And the same kind of goes with React. You might just not know how to use React, even if you know JavaScript. So that was a challenge that I think we overcame well. And then another challenge is how we inherited an existing code base, specifically a pretty large code base that we had to navigate. And it had kind of some mixed level of quality. Specifically, some of these are kind of subjective, but for us, we kind of thought the client implementation on the front end that housed every single API call that we had in one single file was a little bit confusing. And that kind of leads to when you have really long files, as you can see, they're like well over 2,000 lines. And it's just kind of like from a developer point of view, when you open up the file to add a new feature, it can be a little bit daunting and just a little bit frustrating to do it more than it needs to be, in my opinion. And then also, again, not to harp too much on the previous groups, but some of the coding practices were pretty shady. Definitely some method and variable names could have some improvement. I noticed a couple of variable names with one letter, and that's not really helping anybody. But then also an interesting one is definitely React and kind of the technologies. When you use really modern technologies like we're using, obviously that's great. Given those are really useful skills, but those technologies change so fast that code as recently as 2018, even 2019, is already outdated to a point, such as some of the class components that we already have could be replaced with React hooks. And then the last challenge I want to focus on, like Vann kind of mentioned, how we unexpectedly lost a team member. I think one of the biggest challenges about it was we didn't necessarily lose him right away because we didn't really know if we lost him. We didn't know if he was going to come back or not. And so therefore, that was kind of part of the reason we didn't necessarily take up his task, was because we weren't sure if he was going to come back and finish it. And also he didn't leave it in a state to be handed off, as I'm sure he didn't exactly expect to leave. And then also we just lost his help with doing stuff like this right now, like making this presentation, doing our final documentation, those types of things.
Now we'll just go over, to finish off this presentation on a positive note, I'll go over what went well throughout the semester. So basically, we did have an amazing and successful project kickoff at the beginning of the semester. All of the team members, all of us did set up the project in a timely manner, which did give us more time to work ahead and to start off the project earlier in the semester. And also we did obtain an incredible amount of hands-on experience with the project, as it is a project in the real world. And an example of this will be React and AWS, which will be very useful and for our future careers and future jobs that we will get. And then the team also worked very closely with our sponsors. We attended weekly scheduled meetings, basically to go over what was done and accomplished in the week before and what will be expected from the team to be accomplished in the upcoming week. There was great and upstanding communication between the team and the sponsors. Whenever the team faced a challenge or needed help, the sponsors responded in a timely manner and were proficient with helping, as Reis mentioned, with the AWS. And there was also upstanding and amazing communication between us, the team members, considering the loss of one of us. As Reis also mentioned, we do think that we kept up amazingly with splitting up the work and the remaining tasks and jobs that were to be complete by the end of the semester. And that will be the wrap of our presentation, if you have any questions.
Yeah, this was challenging, really, based on not just losing one of your team members, but I think trying to start off from a existing project, trying to understand what was done and how to add to what's already done is a lot of work, and I'm really glad you all did such a wonderful job. So just to touch on the points that you made. So right now you're saying that you're unable to add, a donor is not able to add any amounts to a hug. Is that?
Yeah, correct.
Is that where it's right now? Okay.
Yeah, as of right now, that's it. But we made sure, that's why we kind of did a focus on making that COVID application still working, because that's all handled. So we made sure that's still intact, while this Hug
Okay.
Center is kind of just like a thing to work alongside with that.
And so if I'm a recipient, do I have to set up a Stripe account also, or just the donor sets up the Stripe account?
Yeah, so I know I kind of went by that fast. So when you fill out the profile page, I guess I'll do that real quick on this instance. So when you are a recipient, instead of being created as a customer, you get created as a connected account. So recipients are connected accounts because we can't pay out to customers. We can only pay out to connected accounts. And this form, when upon submission, it creates this account for them. But at that point, there's no bank attached to it. So from there, we would have to go to settings, then bank account, then add bank, and it would be handled here.
So
And ever since this is the live production server, you actually need a real bank account. But
it's just to add to that, connected accounts are kind of like almost mini Stripe accounts for the recipients that we like. There's 3 types of connected accounts, and we use custom accounts, which are essentially like we run their Stripe accounts for them. So technically speaking, yeah, they have these accounts hold money. Like when you hit withdraw, the money went straight to the bank account, but you could keep money solely on their connected account. That's kind of the point of the balance, is that we didn't necessarily want to just pay them out every single time, because they might, if maybe they apply to multiple things and get multiple amounts of money, we don't want to do a transaction every single time. We can just do it when they want it. And the connected account can be helpful in that regard, because it's essentially like it's like a layer, like our main Stripe account, then a connected account, and then the recipient.
So the connected account connects the recipient and the donor, or just the recipient and affordable?
And affordable is like a sort of like a middleman to keep track of all it goes like donor to affordable to recipient, or whatever. It all goes through affordable.
So the donor has no say to who it goes. Is that what you're saying?
No. Just
so the donor
money
donates the money, but doesn't say what it should be going towards. Is that?
It's just that the donor can make a hug, and the point is we just hold the money on our account, and then when they choose a user, the money goes to that user.
So I guess I'll just like, for example, for this, like if we did implement all the APIs, they would donate to the hug that they want to donate, right? This would be sent into our SQL database.
Right. No, just let's talk on the conceptual side only. So the donor, I donate. So when I
Mhm.
donate, do I donate to, I donate to a hug. So the recipient goes and says, okay, I need some help with my cataract surgery, let's say, right?
Mhm.
And I am donating to a hug. Is that hug um, for cataract only, or is it for anything else?
The donors can make a hug for, I guess, for lack of a better for anything that they would
Yeah, like for example, this
want
would
to
be like
be.
mental awareness grant. And
Okay,
like,
so mental awareness grant.
Yeah.
So the from the recipient side, when they come in, if they are looking for help defraying costs for their psychiatrist visit or something, you could be using this grant money. Is that?
yeah.
So
So
who
like
ma-
they would apply in this case, and they would, if they're approved, then
so
affordable would.
yes. So who approves that? Is the donor involved in that or no?
Yeah. So the in terms of like the applicants that they choose, they're involved. So like here we can see that they just denied this user, so they are not in consideration for the money. So
Okay.
yeah, so the
So
donor does just determine who it goes to, but affordable is the one who ultimately gives the money out.
right. What I was trying to see was, where is that? How is that workflow captured? I mean, so I'm applying for a mental health awareness grant
Mhm.
because I had some expenses related to a psychiatrist visit. Now, does that go into that grant? And then the donor, there could be um, multiple recipients asking for it, and the donor sees all of the recipients and then decides which recipient it needs to go to. Is that, or is affordable actually making that decision? That's what I was trying to get at. And who is controlling and how is the workflow controlled?
This is from the donor point of view. So it's the donor, like you said, the way we do it, you can only choose one recipient, but hypothetically a donor could choose any number of recipients because a hug has X amount of money in it, which is
Dollars,
kept
right?
track of
Yeah,
in the database.
right.
And then the donor might say, recipient A, I want to receive the money. So when they hit approve, hypothetically, there would be some back end work that would trigger a Stripe transfer and then also deduct from the hug like balance, for like a
I'm not
better word.
okay. I'm not just talking the finance. I'm just talking of the workflow. So
Mhm.
I'm a donor.
Yep.
I put $1,000 there,
Mhm.
and now a recipient comes in, and they apply for. They see this hug. So the recipient sees all the hugs available, right?
Mhm.
In affordable,
Yeah.
and they may select. Okay, this is the money I need for this medical procedure or whatever, right? And then does it get directed to my hug or does it get directed to some other hug? And I was just trying to see who's orchestrating, how is that thing getting done? So if you can, do you understand what I'm asking?
Not totally. But I would say recipients apply to the hugs, and then
Yeah.
the donor, the owner of the hug, will choose. We don't have like affordable doesn't do anything regarding hugs based from really on the front
Affordable
end.
only
Like
makes the connection.
right, like conceptually, like you were saying,
Yeah.
we aren't
Yes.
actually doing anything. It's just in the background we are.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that
So I
make sense?
was, I mean, I'm trying to, yeah, I'm trying to see when a recipient comes and asks for money, do they choose the hug that they want to apply to?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like that would be,
Okay.
yeah. So for example, in the hug center, you can apply to that mental awareness grant right here.
Yeah. So, but there could be 5 or 6 mental awareness grants, right? I mean, it's 5. There could be 10 donors, and
Correct.
there could be many mental health awareness grants out there,
Mhm.
or similar category of
Mhm.
healthcare requirement. And then I apply to all of them,
Mhm.
and so somebody has to make this decision about who, which, whether they're going to accept it, and if it's going to be accepted, which of these grants is best suited to provide the monies. Do you understand what I'm asking?
So I guess from my perspective, I think like if they apply to all these grants, right, then the individual creators of each grant, right, would deny or approve.
So they get an email at that point?
Yeah, so
saying,
and that's another thing that like we wanted to implement, but we just didn't have time. And we email recipient when their hug application decision is updated. So, but we would have to pass that off to another group.
but the donor gets an email saying that a couple of recipients have asked for money from your hug.
Yeah, and that would be another good like as of right now it doesn't email them, and that's
Oh,
I
okay,
guess
okay.
yeah. So,
I'm just trying to understand the workflow and
yeah,
how
no,
this,
you're fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm just trying to understand the orchestration of this. I mean, this is a very interesting project. That's why I'm just trying to see all the
Yeah. And like I said, there's like a lot of nuances, especially with like the money transfer too. And I guess that's what we were more focusing on. So that's like why we kind of just like left it where it is. So like
no, it's really nice. I mean, it's a really, really interesting project. So I'm glad you had a chance to contribute to this. It's really good work. Yeah. I don't know the sponsors. I'm sorry I took up so much of the time. Sean, Alex, you anything to add or any questions to ask?
Yeah, no, not a problem. I thought the presentation went really well. The demo was really clear. You guys did a good job answering those questions. I'm glad to see you guys had a pretty good conceptual understanding of what we're going for. I did have a question about so when you add a bank account and basically, he was asking about like, having to create these connected accounts, which is kind of a requirement for Stripe's banking purposes for like a know your customer law. So like you can do general shopping transactions through a credit card or something like that just by taking credit card or debit card information. You don't need to know anything about that person to send money, but to receive it, they need to know a little bit about that person. So you're pulling that information from their profile to fill out the required information to create that connected account. So that way it would be in the system for any recipients that would get any payouts from these grants. So if they go and try and do that, but they haven't filled out all the information, like their last four of their social security, what currently happens on that use case?
So in terms of that, the connected account doesn't even get created because they haven't submitted the profile. And if they try and apply to a hug, it would run into an error like, hey, you need to fill out your profile. So it always directs them, like they'll always have a connected account by the end of filling out the profile.
Gotcha. So what if they try and add a bank account without having the profile filled out? Would you get the same error?
Yeah. So like if, for example, let me.
I'm not entirely sure you would.
Really? I think we implemented that in terms of here. Let me register. Oh.
Because well, I was gonna say though, I don't think you don't need you need both. You need like the personal data and the bank account, but you can put them in at any point. So like you need both in order to be getting money. Obviously, you can't get money without a bank account, but and then obviously, like Vann said, the profile will stop you from doing anything.
So this is the recipient account. So this has been verified. Then this profile is empty. And if you're trying to add a bank account, I'm pretty sure maybe it runs. Yeah, you need to complete your profile. Personal information is needed before adding a bank. Yeah, we added that just in case.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm not sure
So
like you
would check,
but yeah, it's a good to do it because.
Yeah, because there, if we don't do that, there would be like they would just add a bank and we wouldn't know whether to connect it to a customer account or a connected account because it's not created yet. So that process has to be created.
Gotcha. Because like you said, you'd create the connected account first, and then the bank account gets added second.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Well, that's good that there's a check in there to prevent any errors or, sending, blank API requests without appropriate information in there. Yeah, that's good. And then, I thought your explanation of sort of the payment processing was accurate. Kind of like everything goes through us as an intermediary and then goes back out to either, whoever those recipients are, to basically minimize the number of transactions because every transaction comes with a fee. So if anything's getting traded internally, we can have you guys, handle that information within our own connected accounts before we actually have to do a payout. So I thought that was a good explanation too. Yeah, that was really well done. It's really coming together. You guys really added a lot of functionality to it, and hopefully, oh, and I do want to point out that in terms of team performance, I think you guys were some of the best in terms of early spin up time and getting acquainted with, again, which is probably like our largest repositories for sort of the different projects that we allocate to different universities. You guys probably had the biggest code base to inherit. So it's a very daunting task to sort of go through it, but you guys did a really good job. Where a lot of other teams struggle, you guys did a really good job jumping really quickly out of the gate. And we were really impressed with how quickly you're able to sort of dig your heels in and get coding early on. So I think you overall had a very successful delivery for this semester, despite all of the challenges and the dropping member and everything else. So
and hopefully
that's kind of our
be
take.
And hopefully that'll be better next semester too. Ever since like the only problem we had was that MySQL issue that we had, where like if the default is like password is not set to password, then it runs into an error, and we had to go to Stack Overflow for that. But if we link that Stack Overflow thing, it should really quicken that up, and like there shouldn't be any issues. But
I'll make sure I note that in the documentation for them next semester.
Right.
Yes, please do, to make it as easy as possible for the next team
Stack
to inherit.
Overflow.
Yes, exactly.
Make it
So
bold letters.
yeah, because there will be another team next semester that will be, picking up the reins of the Hug system that you guys have been implementing. And then there'll be a second team that will be exclusively looking into security and monitoring and tackling that JWT issue that unfortunately was so close to getting fixed, but has been lost on his personal device out in the world.
He never pushed his branch.
He never pushed it, which is heartbreaking because he did a lot of good work. So hopefully he's doing well, and maybe we'll get in contact one day. But it looks good. So like I said, we'll plan on a touch base next week just as a final send off and make sure everything is in order before we part ways and let you guys go for the break and everything. But I think that's all I have to say. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Sean.
No, I thought the presentation was great. And like, I wanted to reiterate that same idea that you guys probably were the fastest to pick up the code base we've ever had, I want to say. And on top of it, the code base is larger than it was. Like, the code base is larger than normal. And on top of it, you guys picked it up faster than almost any team. So that I want to congratulate you guys about that.
Yes. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yes, it's definitely been, we've definitely noticed. I mean, from our end, we're very used to virtual sort of sponsorship. We, work with a couple universities from a distance, but it has been a challenge for a lot of teams to work virtually over, your Slack channels and doing everything separately and not being able to get in one room and do things. And it's definitely hurt a lot of other teams at other schools and had a pretty detrimental impact. But you guys definitely stepped up and delivered one of the better semester projects. So we definitely commend you on your efforts there.
Thanks, appreciate it. And I think due part is because like ever since last semester we switched to online, we kind of had like a good chunk to get kind of used to, that. So. But no, you guys were great too. Like you guys were so quick, and like when we needed your help, you guys were willing to stay like up to like 11, 12, just working with us at night, just working with the AWS stuff. So we really appreciate that. And also like you guys made it the environment really helpful. Where like you kind of let it be like hands off. Like when we had a problem, we just came to you, and like it really helped us learn a lot of things in that aspect. So.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys learned some new tools and stuff that will be helpful as you move on to bigger and greater things out in the industry.
A lot.
But all right, I think that's our last word.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Take care. All the best for your rest of your classes. Yeah.
Thanks.